don't have to do it.
Thank you.
Should have gave her more time.
Thank you so much, Representative Bowman, for hosting this critically important special order hour tonight. I love how, Representative Bowman said something that really resonated with me when I was a senior in high school. They really did make it sound like that money was free. That money was far from free, Representative Bowman, as we know. Students in our country have become profit centers. They really, truly have. And it is ruining lives. One of the first ever town halls I had when I first got elected was in Western Wayne, in Wayne County, Michigan. And a young lady, after I opened it up for questions, stood up. She stood up very strong and looks up at me and starts crying in tears, telling me just how incredibly hard it is to be able to survive, become a homeowner, to be able to move on. She told me about how much it felt like she was trapped, like she was hostage to the student loan debt. And the fact that all she wanted to do is give back. She wanted to get her degree and come back to the community that raised her, come back to the community and give back. And it was so incredibly hard. You know, today, as we hear over and over again, 50 million of our neighbors across our country owe trillions in outstanding student debt. That alone should resonate with so many of my colleagues. This must become a national priority. And one of the things that I think is important as we hear about these stories is the human impact. You know, when I was I was the first in my family to graduate from high school. My father only went up to 4th grade education, my mother 8th grade education. You know, my father came here at 19 years old. Could have never imagined, of course, their daughter being able to graduate from high school, go on to college. And yes, I worked full-time, Monday through Friday, and took weekend classes to get my law degree, and still close to $200,000 in debt. And I still owe about $70,000. And most of it was interest. Most of it was our own government making money and profit off of me. And guess what? I didn't go to the for-profit entities. I went to legal aid. I worked at the nonprofit organization fighting for, the right to breathe clean air, to fight for the worker that was getting their wage, taken and stolen from their employer. I went and worked on immigrant rights and so much more. And all of that to say, we have to stop treating as if folks that are paying for education, as if they bought some bougie car or some big, something beyond that. No. They were seeking an education because, as many of my colleagues will tell you, there was that counselor in the hallway that would pull us aside and say, Rashida, where is your application for college? You got to apply. And I'm like, I'm the eldest of 14, Coach Watson. It was Coach Perry Watson at Southwestern High School. He still remembers pulling me into his office because he didn't get an application from me. And I said, I'm the eldest of 14. I can't go to bat. My parents, who are working class folks, my dad worked at the Line and Ford Motor Company, and say, hey, Dad, help me out here. I want to go to college. And so all that to say is, yeah, they sat us down. Of course there was the Pell Grant and all of that. Of course there was. But at the end, it was still struggle. It was a still struggle because guess what? Some of that money, you couldn't use it for certain things. I remember this. They changed stuff a little bit after I graduated. But I had to work, I had to figure out how to pay for the gas to get to the school, and so much more. But I think it's really important to know, alone in my home state of Michigan, I think the average loan borrower now is like around close to $35,000 in debt. And you have to add on the health care cost, the rent, the utilities, car payments, and so much more to just really live your life. And so majority of our American people, our neighbors right now, educated not, live check by check. They literally live check by check. And add that, the average of $250 or more for student loans. It is really holding people back. And when I look at my state, my district is third poorest congressional district in the country. When I look at the eyes and look at the families that I represent and they come to our town halls, they talk to them about the struggles and, please help. Make government about people. Make it about us. Put us first. One of the things that I continue to hear the common theme is we didn't do anything wrong. We just went to go get access to higher education, and they feel like they're being penalized. They feel truly that, the interest rates, I read this, the interest rates are one of the silent killers when it comes to debt repayment. That they feel like they're being punished for doing something that they were taught to do, right? They go to college, do right, work hard, and they feel like they're being penalized. And the cost of education in our country just continues to increase. We all know that. We see it over and over again. And so what sounds like can't be solved, that is something impossible, it actually is not that complex. President Biden has the ability, this administration has the ability, with the stroke of a pen, to help millions of our neighbors across the country to get out of student debt. We are, far from putting this pandemic behind us. It's been a struggle for many of us. And yes, these payments are going to be coming due. Folks are so anxious about it. Even planning now, folks even sending me messages social media about what do I do about Christmas, because I know around the corner I got to start repaying the student loans. It's difficult to put into words just how big of a difference relieving this heavy burden would make in the lives of so many of my residents. I'm grateful to stand here with many of my colleagues, joining in this fight. Rarely, if ever, in politics are you represented with an easy solution or with, such an impossible problem, but this one isn't. This one's pretty easy. We're the ones, the government is profiting off of people, and we got to stop. I think when we again make government about people and we put them first, then I think it's going to be an easy decision for the administration and for President Biden to come up with the plan that's needed to really help that young lady that came to my town hall and so many others in making this a national priority. I can tell you they all know and they're all doing what they were supposed to be doing. And at the end, they're still struggling. And I know my colleague is not a millionaire, but I always like reminding people of this. Majority of my colleagues in this chamber are. They don't understand the struggle of living check by check. They don't understand, some of them may not be close in understanding the pain of that student loan debt that's really heavy on so many families. And so I stand here in solidarity with my colleagues and asking, let's do the right thing. Let's make this a national priority. Let's get an executive order done, and let's help millions of Americans that did nothing wrong except wanting to access to higher education, as they were told was access to a beautiful, viable, vibrant life in our country. And again, we can't continue to make them a profit center. We have to make them our priority, and that they deserve to be able to live and thrive in our country. Thank you so much, and I yield.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Tlaib, for your powerful words. It is now my honor to recognize the gentlewoman from Texas, Congresswoman